So this comment is talking about when a woman is on her uncleanness according to the Old Testament law. And he is making a point with how completely ridiculous it is that a woman is cast aside while she's on her period, and that even when, if she sits on a seat, as this comment says, that if she sits on a seat and you were to sit on it afterwards, you would then be unclean. Which does seem at a surface level a little bit ridiculous. If you are looking at the text with the perspective of looking for unnecessary misogyny. And in that case, yes, I completely understand your comical view of it. So in the Old Testament, being clean or unclean wasn't about sin, it was about holiness and cleanliness before a holy God. Yahuwah Elohim is a pure, holy fire. For something that's not perfection, that is deadly, and we see people pay the price for that. Being clean or unclean wasn't a sin issue. A woman on her period wasn't unclean because she was wrong or wicked in any way. But why unclean? And this is why understanding the Hebrew text and the context really matters before you judge something. And why scientific understanding and historical and contextual understanding has led me to keeping Torah. It's not of my own righteousness, it's because Torah just makes sense when you look at the science of it. So why is a woman unclean when she's on her menstrual cycle? Well, that Hebrew word that's used for unclean in that context when it comes to a woman's cycle is the same word for unclean that is used when in reference to coming in contact to a dead body. That's weird, right? I mean, it's just blood, it's not necessarily death. Well, modern science proves that women can absolutely miscarry early on in their pregnancy, and it appears as nothing more than just a heavy period. I actually experienced that before in my life, so I know that that's real. In that context, according to Yahuwah's purity laws, he is the living God and cannot be in the presence of death. To touch a dead body wasn't sin. Certain people had to do that job, but those people were not the ones that were entering the tabernacle. Nobody who touched a dead body was clean until the proper purification. But that wasn't because they were sinful. That literally was just for their own protection. Their righteousness was earned by blood sacrifice back then. Now our righteousness, our covering, is earned through the eternal sacrifice of Yeshua. We don't need to be as worried about being ritually clean anymore. The veil is torn. We no longer have to worry about falling down dead in the presence of the living God, Yahuwah Elohim. But that doesn't mean that the eternal wisdom of the Most High is just done away with, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Do I believe I will fall down dead in the presence of Elohim if I consume pork on this earth? No. But I do know it's one of the deadliest meats that you can consume, that it has a direct link to parasites and demonic possession. In the Old Testament, when it says not to mix wool and linen, people nowadays laugh and think that's stupid. Why would we mix clothing all the time? But now science is proving that there's a vibrational frequency to all things. And ironically, wool and linen both vibrate at 600. But it's a oppositional wavelength. So when you mix wool and linen, those frequencies cancel each other out completely, making it zero. For context, linen vibrates at 600 and a dying body vibrates at less than 50. Mixing wool and linen vibrates at 0. Why do you think linen sheets were on all the hospital beds? Well, before medical systems changed to that. Because those frequencies have healing energy, and science proves now what Scripture just made a law then. But these laws that we buck against as if they're there as a burden to keep us constrained are literally just a good eternal Father knowing what is best, giving guidelines for his children. Like a father saying, "Don't touch the stove, son, you'll burn your hand." Laws are not a burden, they are a safety net and a guideline. To choose to not follow the laws of your father are to choose to say, I can do it myself. I know what's best for me. When scripture says the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom, it literally means you have to get to a point where you trust the wisdom eternally of Yahuwah above all things, even when you do not understand it. Yeshua says to have faith like a child, right? What do you think that means? It is the ability to completely trust and rest in what he says is best. That he will ask you to give up things that are not necessarily sin, but to give them up will be for your benefit, and to cling to them will limit how close you can get to your Creator. It's not a salvation issue, it's an intimacy issue. You laugh at the Old Testament because you do not understand or see the eternal wisdom that's in all things, simply because you haven't taken the time to look. But there are those of us who have, and you will not take that from us. Our eyes are open and we will never shut them again. You can laugh all you want, but Torah is literally the light of the world, and those who learn to walk by its light and surrender to Yeshua will be the ones to rule with Elohim. That is what's happening. This people is rising up now, whether you can receive that or not. The greatest in the kingdom will keep the commandments, and the least of these will not keep them and teach others to not keep them. I mean, you can just keep doing what you want. Walking by your own guiding light. I'm good though. I've tried that enough and I've made way too many mistakes. I've experienced bondages that I have no interest in stepping back into. I don't judge you, we're just at a different part in the journey. You do not need to believe like me. And if you are meant to step into different levels of understanding, you'll feel the call. Maybe this will resonate with you and you'll feel something stirring within you. I genuinely pray that's the case. But if not, that's also okay, because scripture says that the truth sounds like foolishness to those who are perishing. Yeshua also tells us that when we go out and preach and teach, that if people don't receive us, we are to basically just take our piece, brush off the dust, and keep going. All I'm supposed to do is share with complete honesty where I'm at with my relationship and all the things I do know and don't know. We all work out our salvation by ourselves between our Father with fear and trembling. At least that's what we should do. You either have eyes to see and ears to hear all this, or you don't. And if you don't, and this doesn't inspire you to want them, then you've made your choice. I don't have to pander my content or try to worry about whether my words are received by people or not. My goal isn't to go seek and drag people into what I believe. I know that simply by me sharing the truth of where I'm at with my Creator, the people who are meant to find me will find me. And they will hear what I have to say as truth. And they will be of one mind and one accord. And I'm already meeting some of you guys right now, which is pretty cool. But yeah, nobody is forcing you to apply the Torah to your life. It's always been a personal choice. But a choice with consequences. It's not a threat, just is what it is. I will fall into the hands of Yahuwah Elohim and his judgment in all things, and not into the hands of a single mortal man. And I am at complete peace with that.